It's 5:30, so we will get started. And we will start out with a roll call.
Mrs. Bowley? Mr. Munoz?
Present.
Dr. Bonebrake? Mrs. Schmidt?
Present.
Dr. Schumacher?
Also here.
Mr. Tatum?
Present.
Dr. Beeson?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, and we will move right along and move into executive session. So I'll need a motion.
Mr. President, I move the Board of Education recess into executive session for 30 minutes for consultation with the board's attorney on matters protected by the attorney-client privilege to protect the privilege and the board's position in potential litigation and administrative procedures. The board will return to open session in the boardroom at 6:00 p.m. The superintendent, board attorney, and leadership staff are invited into executive session.
Is there a second? Dr. Bonebrake, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote.
And the vote is open. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, it is 6 o'clock. Mrs. Whitman, can we do the pledge real quick before the hearing? Okay, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right next to it, so everybody can see you.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Can you share who you are?
I'm Hara Del Castillo. I'm a senior at Topeka High School, and I was selected to be Senior of the Month.
Great, thank you, Hara.
Let's hear from her later, and that was the famous Mr. Wrigley. You'll get a chance to hear from him later as well. Thank you too.
Okay, we will move down and adopt the agenda with haste. If I can have a motion.
Mr. President, I move the board adopt the agenda as presented.
A second from Dr. Bonebreak. Discussion? If not, we'll move for a vote.
All votes are in. The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. So we'll move on to our hearings for exceeding the revenue neutral rate and then separately our budgets. I'll turn it over to Mrs. Whitman.
Good evening. On the agenda this evening are two public hearings that are required by Kansas law. The first one is under agenda item 5.1. It's the public hearing for exceeding the revenue neutral rate for 2025-2026. Under KSA 792988, Kansas law requires that there be a public hearing and special additional budget procedures when exceeding the revenue neutral rate. And these additional procedures by law require that there be a notice published, which in this case it was on July 25th, and that there be a public hearing in which the public has an opportunity to express any thoughts or comments on the revenue neutral rate. The revenue neutral rate is basically if the mill levy rate that generates the same amount of property tax as the previous year. When a board proposes to exceed that, then it kicks in the notice and hearing requirements. At this time, I will officially open the public hearing on exceeding the revenue neutral rate. And if there is anyone who would like to address the board about questions or comments about exceeding the revenue neutral rate, now is the time for them to come forward and express their concerns to the board.
It looks like there is.
Please come forward.
Thank you. Hello, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Linnell Griffith, and I wanted to express concern about rising property taxes in general. It's a hardship to a lot of people, so I would just encourage you to very seriously consider your budget and see, is there a way we can give some property tax relief? It's very difficult for individuals. If you've listened to some testimonies given at the city and county level, it's not only inconveniences, but for a lot of people, it's very true hardships. It's an inconvenience for me, but some people I've talked to have been taxed out of their homes. When I looked at my bill, I noticed that my 501 portion of it was about 80% of what I will pay to the county, and it was more than I will pay to the city. And I actually use the roads and the water and the safety of the county and city. I have not used the public school system. Now, this is just personal to me. My children have done a combination of a little bit of public school just for a couple of weeks, but private school and homeschooling and online community college and tech school. And one of the great things about Topeka is we have so many opportunities. I know you're very proud of 501 and it's done a lot of great things. And there's a lot of opportunities out there. So I think that can be a real draw to Topeka, as well as the relatively cost of living. You look at housing here compared to like Lawrence, and we're a lot better. We can pull more people into our community if we can get our property taxes under control. So I looked at my bill. I'm like, where am I paying the most? I'm going to hit those RNR meetings if schedules allow and say, please, just like individuals, look at the budget, see what you can cut. It may be more of a state issue. We've been at this for years, but that's another thing. So typically, I know how these things go. Once we get to this point, there may be some dissenting votes, and I always appreciate that. But in general, I've never seen the RNR not exceeded after a hearing. So I'm not highly optimistic, and that's okay. I'm still here to tell you, please seriously consider. But I have something beyond that I think you really can do, and it won't cost you anymore. It won't hurt your budget, and it'll help me, and it'll help other taxpayers and that's this. Let us glean from what we're already paying. So, for example, my kids, like I've said, they've done private school, they've done homeschooling, and it is so difficult to find locations to have activities. In our case, it's specifically football, but you ask people, it could be drama or a whole bunch of other things. So why don't you let us, those who private school and homeschool, use your facilities at cost. After you've already set your schedule, we'll glean from what's left over. When it's not being used, let us rent a facility at cost, electricity, personnel, whatever you need, but not at a profit. For example, Hummer Sports Park for football is a couple years ago, it was over $1,500 a football game. There's no way we could afford that. There's no way we would need a place that nice. Highland Park would be delightful. I don't know what it goes for. Can you, in your heart of hearts, say, hey, you know what? Because people are paying into taxes to fund the school and they're not using it, can we let them use our facilities at cost instead of at a profit for us, because we're already paying in? So please seriously consider that. I may be following up at different levels too. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions or be done.
Any questions? I will, and we discussed this earlier tonight. I do believe there are some of our local private schools that do use our facilities.
It's not at cost. I've been a part of private school.
At Highland Park?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's something that we can definitely take back and talk about and look at further.
Yeah. And I'm talking about across the board as well. So if it could be opened up, not to the one private school that recently used it,
Yeah,
but to private schools in general, to homeschooling in general. We have to play in Lawrence at a field that we have to get down and dirty and make it
yeah,
doable.
yeah.
So yeah, if you could consider that across the board at cost, that
Great.
would be of great help to the community and us taxpayers.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Thank you all for your time. Oh,
Oh, yeah, Miss Bowling.
I am assuming, because you seem like you're very efficient on rules and what you're able to do, but you also, I'm assuming, know that your students can participate in our plays, our football, our band.
yes,
They're
ma'am.
already being allowed to use the facilities.
The Tim Tebow law.
If you choose to
Yeah.
do that, you
Yes.
already are using the facilities in Topeka Public Schools, so.
Thank you. I was somewhat expecting that comment, and that was a good move in the right direction. Absolutely. Nevertheless, my question stands as a real community has been developed in the private schools and homeschools that we want to be able to continue what we've created. But as taxpayers, we would like to just take some of the leftovers.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Ms. Griffin.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the board on the issue of exceeding the revenue neutral rate? Yes. Come forward.
My name is Justin Gilbert. I do have a student currently at Topeka West, and then another student who's at a different school. I'm looking through, I just glanced at the budget this year. I've planned on coming before, but we're at $19,000 per student. And the state revenues for this current school year is $171 million from the state, correct? Is that federally, does that come through just from the state taxes, or how does that arrive at the school? Because there's another 46 million the year previous from the federal revenues, and then that dropped dramatically. So how do those two numbers come across to the school district?
And if the board's okay with it, I will defer to Mr. Minke or Mr. Busey to answer that. That maybe we will have a separate hearing for the budget.
Right.
So I don't know if that's more germane for that part of the hearing, but I'll still defer to them because they're probably the ones that are better suited to.
To make that clear, the property tax portion from the increase was 30 million in 23-24, and 24-25, it's 25 million, if I'm reading the numbers correctly. So how do those all relate to get to that $19,000?
Finish your full comment, then both gentlemen will
Yeah.
come up and they'll answer that question and any other questions.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think that's clear enough. It doesn't need too
Are
rambling.
you all?
For that number, yeah, I think that's good. That give me a basis for the rest of my items.
And so you have more comments to make as well?
Yes.
You wanna
Oh, yeah,
make
you
your
can go
full
ahead. Let's
comment
I
first?
would like this answered, and then I'll be like 4 minutes.
You want to let him have
All
a
right,
seat?
thank you.
Yes, sir.
referring to these.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, you want to know the flow through on these?
Yeah, how do they come to the state? How would the state fund more than the federal government? I guess is my first question.
Okay.
And then what is the increase you're looking at from the property taxes from 25 million in the current year to what?
Okay,
For the
so
proposal?
the state revenue, the large portion of that is going to be based on our base aid rate per pupil. So by the number of students. And when you look at the mill levy, an important consideration that we brought up is that the first 20 mills, every school district is required to levy the 20 mill general fund levy. So those funds are sent to the state. Every district levies the same amount, the 20 mills. Those get sent to the state, and then those are distributed out in a basic form just by the number of students. The federal dollars that you're seeing there, and those have declined significantly because we had the COVID relief dollars. So that had changed a lot based on the expiration of the ESSER funding. That was the last cycle of the COVID grants. And then you did have a question about just the mill levy in general, other than the general fund.
Right, so how much of the money for the 200? I thought the budget from the property taxes was 256 million. Right, that doesn't make sense.
That makes sense.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I realized that was the.
Yeah,
So what is that amount
So-
of that?
Yeah, let me help you here. 226 million. We don't raise 226
I know,
million dollars
like,
from
I
the
mean,
local
Right,
local
Bill.
property taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my goodness, right? So if you look at what we've raised in property taxes from the 23-24 school year was about $34.2 million. For the 24-25 school year was about $33.9 million. We actually levied about $239,578 less taxes in 25 than we did in 2024. The other thing I'd like to know, everyone to know, is taxes levied, not taxes collected. So we levied $33.9 million last year. 683,000 of those dollars were levied but abated. Abated taxes go to neighborhood revitalization, IRBs, the things that you see in the paper, tax increment financing. So just because we levy a tax does not mean we collect that tax. So net last year, would be that 33.9 less the abated of 683,000. So local taxes is going to be around 34 million. As Matt said, that 20 million is by statute that goes to the state of Kansas. The taxes that come directly to the district, Topeka Public Schools, are going to be the LOB, the capital outlay, the bond and interest, and then we have a small levy for our special liability, our legal defense fund. So in terms of the $226 million, if we were looking at the document, that includes all revenues, state revenues, federal revenues, local revenues, even local grants. So in state aid last year, our state aid, general fund state legal max was a little over $117 million in that general fund. And we transferred out of there because we have to use those dollars to support the at-risk funds, 4-year-old at-risk, special education. A big portion of our dollars are transferred out of that general fund into the special education fund. So that has to support those special program funds. The local dollars that we levy are in support and above and beyond, So if we get a state aid for special education in the amount of, let's say it's in the neighborhood of $21 million, last year our special education budget was a little over $46 million. So we have to make up that difference. We still have to provide the services to the student, but in just pure state aid, we're going to have to make that up with that local effort. So $226 million budget's not all property tax. The property tax, we get some state aid. We get dollars from the U.S. Department of Education. About $11 million of our funds, our federal funds, are from the U.S. Department of Education for our food services programs. And the district does support many of our private schools. We provide lunches for a great deal of our private elementary schools. We provide special education services into those private schools. We provide some title services into our private schools. So does that kind of help you? The overall budget's not we don't fund it dollar for dollar with local property taxes. So if we look at the property taxes levied over a 5-year period, if you look at and I live in the district. So listen, I'm as sensitive to everybody that's here. Yeah. I live at 1646 Southwest Knollwood. In 2016, my house.
You're his neighbor.
He's my neighbor.
Not us, our neighbor.
We're neighbors.
Yeah.
So if you have a question that's been answered.
Yeah. Do you want me to stop him? You want me to stop him?
Your 2021 state our levy cost you about $2 in 2021.
Yeah. Okay. I can finish up.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's all. Yep. You did a good job. Okay. Yeah, I did.
All right, neighbor, come on.
All right. The whole fun of us neighbors. So looks like so we don't need to be here all night, but about $190 million comes from federal or different funds across. And I did realize that the special education fund is massive for the district. It is, and I think it's gonna be $54 million the upcoming year. or somewhere in that.
49.
49. So I do think, I understand it's expensive to have all the buildings, and I think it would be good, I think selling some of the items and things, that'd be good. But at $19,000 per student, if there's 13,000 kids in the district, is a substantial amount of money per student. And if you think about financing or money, if, they're here 12 years, we're at $240,000 per student. We're at $250,000. And as this continues on, if we continue raising these amounts and the budget, the previous year it was 5% was the increase in the budget on the property taxes, which, and this year it's roughly double that amount in 1 year. If we don't continue to pull back on the amounts, these are just going to go higher and higher. And what you said, the challenge is, yes, we want to have all the kids to have good schools and a good education. However, we also want affordable housing, affordable lifestyles. And when we're taking an amount for me on just one of our properties, it's just $200, but between a couple of the companies we have, we pay nearly $11,000 or $12,000 to 501 every year. And if we go down our block in Knollwood and you take 50 houses at $200 a house, that's $10,000 just on one street. And there's really only about 12 or 10 kids on the entire block. And a lot of them don't go to 501. So with that being the case, it's hard to make decisions. I know I went to a library hearing. It's really hard to come to one of these hearings and be like, yeah, drop $5 million out of your budget tonight, please. So there's probably a challenge that some of us that want these numbers reduced should have been more active prior to tonight. However, I know, or I would assume that most people on the board here would be for more affordable housing, be for more affordable rent, and continuing to raise these amounts does have that'd be a nice way to say it. It does affect all these things, and it's a delayed effect, and it continues to occur. I think the COVID funds is a challenge probably for the district and probably for everybody, since there was a lot of money there, and then boom, you're out $15 million. However, we have to make some of those tough decisions, or they're going to be harder decisions to make next year, 2 years, and 5 years down the road. Were there any tough decisions made to reduce the budget for this upcoming year that anybody could highlight for me, just out of curiosity?
I don't know if the board wants to speak, but when we originally were coming up from the finance committee with a budget and looking at the R&R, we originally were a point higher, I want to say, on the R&R. And then we looked at, I think it was capital outlay is where we brought that down
Right.
a point, knowing that, even a point higher, it affects our constituents, our neighbors, as another Knollwood neighbor.
We pay a lot of property taxes. We help.
Yeah, and my 3 kids that attend 501 appreciate that. Ms. Boley.
Also, during teacher negotiations, our teacher union wanted a $4,000 raise.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, I think our teachers should have a beginning salary of $80,000. But of course, we can't do that, because then you really couldn't live in your house. We were only able to give them like a $1,500 with their whole package. So our teachers deserve more than we're probably able to give them, but we're giving them almost the majority of our budget. And so the wages are a big one. And of course, we had to tell them, I'm sorry, we can't give you a $4,000 raise, even though the heart of all of us in the room would like to have done that.
Right, and that amount comes out, the third mill levy item, that raised 12%, or does that come out of the general that's at 5.8% increase?
Yeah, salaries.
It comes from different places. Yeah.
They come out of the two operating funds, the two,
Yeah,
the general and the LOD.
general,
This is our
Right.
operating dollars. This is what we
yeah,
pay
so
salaries.
it's 12
from.
and 5.
Yeah.
So the really expense for the district was the capital outlay, which is for all the buildings, correct?
Yeah, and that's where
Our
the
biggest expense was,
biggest increase is that in our bond and interest.
and interest, okay. Okay. So, I think the $16 million increase, which is what you're requesting, is too much. I think it's a little late to do that. If there's anything you can do to trim that, it would be good. And I think on the capital outlay for the buildings, I mean, you got to have buildings to have the kids, but buildings are probably one of your most expensive things in this district because there's some big ones and there's some old ones and there's some nice new ones too. And there's Topeka High, which is beautiful. So I would strongly suggest that these hard decisions are made over the next few years. And if you have any questions for me, I appreciate your time and everybody else's time.
Anything else for Mr. Gilbert? Okay.
Mr. Minky has taken notes, so he'll speak to some of the comments as well. If you're going to stay in the audience in terms of the increase that you referenced and clarify some items as well.
thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert.
Is there anyone else who would like to comment to the board on exceeding the revenue neutral rate? Going once, twice? Seeing none, I close this public hearing on the revenue neutral rate. There is no board action required at this time. On your agenda tonight, item 23.1 is the resolution to approve exceeding the revenue neutral rate. And there'll be opportunity for discussion then. And by Kansas statute, that will require a roll call vote. I will close this hearing now and we'll move on to the second public hearing, which is scheduled tonight. And that is the public hearing related to the 25-26 school district budget. It's item 5.2 on your agenda. KSA 792929 requires school boards to hold a public hearing before adopting the district's annual budget. The notice of hearing was approved by the Board of Education and published in the Topeka Metro on August 25th, 2025. Now is the time set aside for the public to make any comments, objections, or questions concerning the use of all funds and taxes to be leveled. Is there anyone present this evening who has any questions or comments to the proposed USD 501-25-26 school year budget? Going once, going twice. Seeing no one interested in commenting at this time, I will close the public hearing. And again, Mr. President, board members, there is no action required at this time, but on your board agenda this evening, board agenda item 23.3 will require the board to approve and adopt the 2025-2026 school year budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sweitman. Up next, we have built-in executive session, which we do need, but if it pleases the board, and I would like to go through our school highlights so that our guests don't have to wait longer for us to talk, and then we'll come back to executive session. I think potentially before business by consent, because there may be some items in that to go over an executive session, but if we could move to school highlights first.
Oh, this is our favorite time of the board meeting. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Dick to please come forward. And if you will please indulge as we start the Senior of the Month video. It's one of our members who started the pledge off for us, and I'll turn the mic over to him.
Hi, I'm Hara Del Castillo, and I'm a senior at Topeka High School. All 4 years, I've been involved in Stugo. I've been involved in the swim team. This is my second year in NEHS, and then this is my first year in NHS.
She's a student that you'll see and you notice, and she's always kind of doing the right thing. That's just Tara. That's just what she does. She's not in people's face about what she's doing, but she's just a quiet leader.
Her ability to go above and beyond on hard things, to be open to any kind of challenge. That is the best that a teacher could see in a student.
I've seen her confidence in herself grow so much. Observing her in her high school years, she always excel in everything that she wants to pursue.
I chose to do the TCALC route because hearing about all the different opportunities that they give out was very interesting to me, and I thought it could give me a step forward into the career I want to go in and like explore if I wanted to go into anything else.
She did sports medicine in the past school year, which was a great introduction to her into just kind of the healthcare field a little bit and lots of aspects about healthcare. This year, she wanted to transfer over to the PCT program just to prepare her for her ultimate career goal of being a nurse.
I like the idea of helping people and having that like one-on-one interaction with patients. It gave me a good foundation to go into Washburn KU for their nursing program, and I just want to be able to do something where people feel like they're being taken care of.
Just keep doing what you're doing. I know you're gonna soar high because you have the confidence, you have the potential, you have the ability to be whatever you want to be in the future.
I will greatly suggest to test all waters. Like whatever is out there, I want her to experience that, learn from it, explore. I strongly believe that that is going to take her a long ways in her future.
You just keep being you. You keep doing the things that you're doing, and as long as you keep doing that, you're going to be successful in whatever it is that you do.
Just stay motivated, keep having fun like you have for like the past 3 years. Don't mind what other people think, pursue what you want to pursue, explore things, meet new people, have fun. Thank you for helping me get through all these 4 years.
Congratulations on being the Senior of the Month. This is the most special one because you're the first person that came to their mind as the first Senior of the Month for the district. I'll turn it over to Mr. Dick to make some comments and go from there.
It's just my pleasure to introduce Tara to all of you, and thank you for doing highlights here ahead of time. We appreciate that. Also, from the staff at Topeka High, we have a couple of gifts for you. So these are for you.
Thank you.
And Ms. Nichols is here, and the folks from Stormont Vale and TCALC. Also, since you're, a student there, wanted to make sure you had something from all of them as well too. So you get double from Topeka High and TCALC tonight. And I'll let the board, if you have questions or anything you want to say to Hara. There she is.
Thank you, Hara. Are there questions from my compatriots? Dr. Pomberg.
Hara, I would ask you to consider taking all the classes necessary to apply to medical school.
I already do. I try. Right now, I'm taking AP Bio and AP Stat just to get some of those credits out the way, or at least give me a good foundation to when I do take college classes in my nursing program.
Okay, very good. Hang in there.
Thank you.
Anybody else for Hara? Mr. Munoz.
Congratulations on this recognition. I'd love to hear more about your experience in TCALC and what your thoughts were going into it and then coming out, or you're still going through some classes, is that right?
Yeah, I went into TCALC through their college prep program first when I was in middle school. And it gave me, I took their like advanced math classes and their English classes, and I thought that it really helped me because being with other students from like different schools gave me a perspective, and it let me like have connections to others in other schools. And then as I was taking those pathways, I learned quickly that they work really hard to give you the opportunities that you want. And so I wanted to take advantage of those opportunities so I could explore like what my true passion was going into the workforce in the future.
Ms. Molly.
So it looks like you have a little bit of a cheerleading section with you. I was hoping maybe you could introduce some of the people that are here to support you.
It's just my mom here today. She's standing there with the camera. She's here to support me. She's like my greatest supporter, and I'm so grateful for her.
And the guy in the bow tie?
He's our next highlight, Mrs. Bowley. Yeah, it's Mr. Wrigley.
My sociology teacher, sophomore year. He's great.
Also cheering, yes.
Hi, highlight.
Yes, yeah.
Other questions for Hara or comments?
We're just so proud of you.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the enrollment at Topeka High, and your principals and your staff chose you.
I was very surprised because I was like, I'm like a quiet person, so I didn't think that being quiet or anything would get me recognized.
Well, our staff always watches out for those students that are doing a fantastic job, and you definitely came into view for them. So thank you for taking the big advantage of your education in Topeka Public Schools. We appreciate everything that you're doing to put yourself on top. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hara.
I will add that I did have a student who had found out that she was our senior of the month, just kind of randomly stopped me in the hall and just said, that was a great selection. She is the nicest person that you would ever meet. So others recognize how wonderful she is too. Yep.
It is a Topeka High night.
It is.
The next two highlights are about Topeka High, and we'll turn it over to Mr. Dick.
So the next is Philip Wrigley. So to come on up, Philip. So Philip was recognized for and awarded as the American High School Civics Teacher of the Year award winner this year. There are three. Did I get that right?
The American Civic Education.
American, okay.
It's a mouthful.
Close.
Mouthful.
So he was one of three recognized nationally and the first ever winner from the state of Kansas. And so we're very excited to honor Philip.
Congratulations, Mr. Wrigley. Thank you. Mr. Wrigley is also one of our nationally board certified teachers who really was the first person to meet with me to say, why aren't we paying national board certified teachers? And he's one of the reasons why they now have a higher compensation. Mr. Wrigley, we're going to turn it over to you to share a little bit about the award and some comments you might want to make. I know the board may have some questions for you as well. And again, we're so proud of you, sir.
Sure. I was just thinking this is a perfect night for this because between teaching about different kinds of taxes the last few days in government class, having my former sociology student here, and that I'll have a couple of you come speak with my students later. I feel like I'm training the future meeting, right? Like we've got building that up. So it's the American Civic Education Teacher Award. It is jointly put on by the National Education Association, the Center for Civic Education, and the Center for Representative Government at Indiana University. And it's been going on since 2006. And they pick three of us K-12 teachers per year. They will very nicely fly me out to Washington, D.C. in early December for the National Council for Social Studies annual conference. And I'll get some nice stuff that I'd be happy to bring back and share with you all and get to do some panels out there. But it's really about celebrating the value of excellence in education and about the value of civic education. That's what it's fundamentally about. So be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Wrigley? Yeah, Dr. Beeson.
Congratulations on the award. I'm really curious about your, not to put you on the spot, but sort of your teaching philosophy. Like obviously you're doing some special things in your classroom and I would love to know more about that.
So actually I'm gonna take that in reverse. I would say a big part of it is the classroom, obviously. I've got US government, I've got sociology and that kind of stuff. But it's also, we've got the Topeka High School Voting Club that we've had going on for the last 6 years. And that's an amazing group of kids. And it's been different kids throughout the years, but they're very much about getting folks, especially those who maybe do not easily come to the idea that they should be civically engaged or that their voice matters, getting them to be involved, along with getting them to register to vote, which they'll be doing their first voter registration drive this coming Wednesday at the Club Carnival. They also get students to serve as election workers. And I'm not going to claim us entirely responsible for this, but just last year, there were 71 student election workers in Shawnee County, which is a lot.
I heard about
Right.
that last year.
So getting them civically engaged, that group of students 2 years ago also hosted the governor at Topeka High. And for basically a panel discussion between them and her, all about like the value of young people's voice in the civic process. And I will say to Mr. Dick's credit and to my fear, you know, when we talked about, hey, can we host the governor? I was like, what do you need to do? You know, what does Dr. Anderson need to do? And he was just like, you guys got this. Like, okay, I guess we'll host the governor. Understood.
She'll bring her people.
Exactly. So getting to do some of that stuff that is outside the classroom, and then just some other community involvement, I think plays to that. But really coming back to the classroom, the government class is not about, hey, here's the 3 branches. Like, we're going to talk about that stuff. It's what does it look like to be an informed, active, conscientious citizen? How do you develop the skills to do that? How do you develop the dispositions? Bringing folks in from the community, along with a couple school board members that always like to come. I've got the senior deputy district attorney who likes to come. We've got the League of Women Voters that comes in. Just folks from the community to say these are regular people. They are like you. You will be one of them. And that it's not necessarily, hey, AP students, you should feel powerful. It's every one of you has a voice and every one of you has value. And we want to make sure that you get to be a part of community decision-making and making it a better world. So it's just making sure that everybody has a voice and trying to make that happen in the classroom, through the club. And then I've also got some service I do at the community and state level that I think was part of it as well.
Very good. Well, this is very well-deserved recognition, and I think you're probably helping to create some memories kids won't ever forget. So thank you for that.
Mr. Tatum.
Hey, Phil.
Hi.
Man, I am proud of you. Congratulations. This is a big deal. This is huge. So, and I know I speak for all of us when I just say you are proudly representing Topeka Public Schools. And this is just quite an accomplishment. But I am really curious about this entire process.
Yeah.
And maybe you can enlighten us a bit on what that was like for you. And, you know, were you nominated? Did you put in for it yourself, or was there a group of people that put your name in? How was the vetting process? How did this process kind of unfold for this award?
First of all, thank you. As I explained to my 10-year-old the other day, I've got a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. When Daddy came home from this, they'd made me nice little signs like, "Great job, Daddy," and like,
all right,
Daddy gets to pick where we go out to dinner. And I was the 6-year-old doesn't quite understand it yet, but she will, right? But the 10-year-old, I was like, just so you understand, you know, this is Daddy's like first, last, and probably only national teaching award. And she goes, "Oh, okay." So in terms of the process, so it was brought to my attention first by Adalia Schumann, who's the former director of teaching and learning for KNEA, because NEA is one of the sponsors. So she brought it to my attention and sort of put in as like, okay, this is a thing, right? This is the path. And then you have to be nominated by a principal, a peer, an education peer, and then you do a self-portrait and resume. So it's Mr. Dick had to write something for me. I had Kenya Patzer write something for me this last year. This is honestly not the first year I've been in for it. This is the, I think, 4th time.
Wow.
Before selection. So, you know, several other teachers, Mr. Smith, Ms. Evans, have all put in, and, you know, 4th time's the charm, I guess.
I guess so.
But yeah, so the answer is I submit stuff, they submit stuff, and it all goes in, and then there's a committee from the 3 different sponsoring organizations that does the selection process. And then they announce the 3. So,
Yeah, man,
yeah,
that's
the
just
process.
amazing. Yeah, congratulations again.
Thank you.
And keep it up. Maybe this isn't the only time, but the first time.
So,
Other questions or comments for, yes, Mr. Munoz.
You know, it comes across that you're really energetic and excited about what you do. And I'm just interested, where does that come from? Because you could teach anything. Why do you teach what you do?
that's a good question. Yeah, I'm really into this stuff. As my students, we were talking about voting today, so we're talking about like duties and responsibilities of citizenship, and I was like, we got to voting, and I was like, okay, I'm like really excited to talk about this. This might be one of the things I'm really into. And one of my students, Caston, who's had me before, and he just looks at me and goes, might be something you're into. And then we just went into it, and we'll go into it some more tomorrow. So all education is valuable, right? Everything that they have to learn is valuable. Math, science, I love it all. But no matter what particular job they're going to do, what particular roles they're going to have in life, every one of my students is going to be a community member, right? They're all going to be decision makers. They're all going to be, whether we're talking local community, state, whether they're talking about voting or volunteering, they're all going to be that in some form or another. And so I think it is very clear to me sort of what the mission is, what I'm trying to empower them to do. I think there's also a lot of cynicism in the world right now, in the sense that it's bad and nothing's going to make it any better. And I relish the idea of breaking through that to say, no, the world can be a better place, and it's not on somebody else, it's on you to do that.
That was where I would have hoped to, and
Yeah.
guessed that you might say, and I think you're right. Obviously, we give a lot in terms of opportunities for students to get education in a lot of different subjects, and I think what you're doing is really stays with them. It's a lesson that stays all of their lives, and I'm appreciative of all the work that you do. Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you and Sue and others who have come to my class every single semester for the last several years.
Ms. Boley.
So right now is kind of a challenging time with sharing the story of our country.
Mhm.
And I was just wondering, is it changing your instruction in the classroom at all, or the questions you're being asked, or any of that that's happening in the United States right now?
That's a good question. Honestly, no. And that might be a strange answer. Part of that is that when I'm teaching a class, I want it to be evergreen in the sense that, yes, they are needing to understand what's happening in the world right now. Like we do 8 current events throughout the semester. Like I teach current social issues. Like we need to know what's happening in the world right now. But I'm also trying to empower them to understand how these systems function and operate for 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 40 years from now. So when I teach the class, I'm not necessarily overly focused on okay, let's talk about this exact thing and this exact thing. It's let's connect what's happening in the world, but I also want you to understand the big picture so that this will make sense 40 years from now when you're still a community member. The other part is honestly just at the core of teaching, you need to be trustworthy, right? It's the, first point of the Scout Law, and I'm the Cub Master, but it's also just that is what it to be a teacher, right? That the community can trust you, that families can trust you, that kids can trust you. So I sort of, in that sense, I'm not going to modify who I am or what I am or how I do things on the basis of politics, right? What it's going to be is I'm going to be honest and trustworthy and make sure that they are getting good information to be informed decision makers. So, yeah.
Congratulations on the award. And I'm so grateful to you to represent Kansas. I've been in the State House the last couple of days, and I think a lot of times our leaders don't understand the quality of education in Kansas and what a high level that our standards are and what we're teaching to. And you are just an example to say, this is what we're doing in Kansas. I wish you would appreciate it.
I will say in my self-portrait, my third sentence is that, I am fortunate to teach at historic Topeka High School, famous for its beauty and diversity, right? That's in there. And I had like a friend, like an old teacher friend, like she's retired now, she was a counselor for years in a different district. And like I was having her read through the thing with me. And she was like, is that really what you want to put in there? Like, you know, they only read the first few sentences, right? It's real quick. Is that really what you want to put in there? And I was like, actually, yes, that is core to who I am. That it does matter that I am a Topeka High School teacher in Kansas, that I'm teaching, you know, social studies a few blocks away from Brown v. Board of Education National Historic Park. Like that does matter to what I am and what I do.
Thank you, Mr. Wrigley. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, our last highlight, and this is a little ahead probably of what's on the agenda tonight, but on the consent agenda tonight, there's a MOU there for a partnership between Topeka High School and Invista Credit Union to open a school bank. And so Jamie Beaton from Invista is here tonight, just to give them some recognition. And then Sheila Crowe is also here as the teacher of those programs. And just to explain a little bit about that, and you can come on up if you would like, Jamie. So assuming that this will pass without any issue later this evening, we'd like to recognize Invista for this opportunity. And I'll share a little bit about this and how it's a little unique compared to most school banks that folks have had. So I've been part of starting a school bank before at another school previously. And school banks are interesting. They're great for kids. They learn lots of stuff about banking and all of that, but it's not the things that they do there and the accounts that students hold, they pretty well end at school. So when you go home for the summer, you don't have access to it. When you leave school for the day or the weekend, you don't have access to it. And so when Invista approached us and wanted to talk about it, what they want to do is actually have an actual branch of Invista Credit Union at Topeka High School. If a student opens an account or a staff member opens an account there, they can have full access to their account at their branch at Topeka High School. We will be open during the 4th and 5th hour of the day during lunch. That's when students and staff can access the branch at Topeka High. Our target date for opening is October 15th, assuming everything goes well here. That's also National Credit Union Week. And we'll have students work there as interns. So they can count that as one of their post-secondary assets that we need to later on. So another opportunity for that. And hopefully at some point in time that will develop into a paid internship with them. We're optimistic for that. Also, they are, after we get through this year and successful at Topeka High, they're open to considering the idea of opening a branch at Highland Park in Topeka West as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jamie if she wants to say anything about this and if you have any questions about what we're doing. Thank you.
Hello. One of our strategic initiatives at Invista is actually financial education, especially in regards to youth. So we were thrilled with the opportunity and looking forward to doing that at Topeka High. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions from the board? Yes, Ms. Boley.
So they're going to have access to this when they're off campus. I'm assuming they're going to have like debit cards.
They could, yes.
And so is there going to be instruction around somebody that drains their account all the time?
Yes, we will have at the branch on the school property, we will have our managers that staff the branch, and they will be training them on procedures, not only credit union procedures, but things like budgeting, balancing, accounting, debits and credits, everything that will correspond with the classes they're already having, in addition to those financial education pieces, how to balance a checkbook, how to check your account online, set up those balance text messages so that those things don't happen. Hopefully.
That's great. I'm so glad to hear that. I could have used that the first few years I was married.
I agree.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot.
Thank you so much for considering Topeka High and creating this partnership with our awesome Mr. Dick. And I just hope it goes really well. This is so important for our students' futures.
I agree. Thank you.
Mr. Tatum.
So thank you again for being here. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for our students at Topeka High. Just kind of curious as to how this may have come together. Specifically, Did you guys kind of reallocate staff from other locations, or did you hire brand new employees to staff this particular location?
We have not. We're pretty lucky in that we have a couple of branches that are pretty close to the Topeka High location, and we have allocated them to assist with this branch as well. As far as how it came about, Sheila, did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can kind of give a little bit of background on that. Yes, I'm Sheila Crowe. I teach bulk of the consumer and personal finance and banking and finance investing classes at Topeka High. I am also teaching about taxes on Monday. I'm going to make a really long story short, but I had been asked several years ago to kind of look into the opportunities and whatnot from other staff members, actually, who were kind of interested in having like maybe an ATM at the school or something like that. And kind of after doing some of my initial research, I ended up having a really great group of students last fall. And we put our heads together. We did a lot of research. We visited other schools that have school banks in them, like Washburn Rural and Seaman, looked at what they were doing, polled our students to see who had accounts and who didn't, and where did they have accounts at. And they actually chose Invista as the first one to approach and do a presentation to, which I'd be happy to share the presentation with you all at some point, because I do still have access to that. So it was kind of a lightning in the bottle moment. We happened to be looking and they happened to be looking as well. So yeah.
Thank you both.
Other questions? Yeah, Ms. Schmidt.
I want to thank you guys for thinking outside the box, or at least looking at bringing that opportunity to Topeka High. I think fiscal responsibility is something that is very, very important. Obviously, it's not always taught by families, but it does impact our students all through their entire life. If they start out with bad credit, it's hard to get the car, to get to the job. It's hard to get a house. And then it leading to the classes about taxes and all those kinds of things, and creating civic-minded people. They need to have an understanding of fiscal responsibility as they step into positions and make determinations on how much money they're going to spend that other people provide. So I really think it's amazing you guys are doing this. It kind of reminds me a little bit, it's like real life Reality U. I don't know if Reality U still is a thing with Spark Wheel or whoever they are now, but this is a really great opportunity for our students, and I hope that we can expand it to all the schools.
Ms. Boy.
I was just going to suggest if you needed a speaker on school of finance, you have somebody right behind you to come to your class.
I was going to ask for a loan for the school district. Customer.
That man is a genius in school of finance.
Thank you.
Sun Vista Credit Union, we have this certificate for you, and we really should be bringing you one as well, Ms. Crowe, for doing the reach out. So we'll be sure to deliver something that has your class and your name in this as well, because the partnership made this happen. But thank you for partnering with Topeka Public Schools, and we are excited about the future at Topeka High and perhaps future schools through this partnership. Thank you so much, Ms. Crowe, for thinking out of the box.
Thank you.
Take pictures.
At this time, we're going to take a quick break for a photo, about 3 minutes. We're going to start with our senior of the month. So come on up. Mom, did you want to be in the photo? Come on up, Mama. All right, you're going to be right here. And get around.
Go. Right on 3, 1, 2.
One more. Perfect. Ready? 1, 2.
Okay. All right, Ms. Ridley, can you come on upstairs? As we have Paris here of the month, we're going to congratulate.
Mr. Munoz, can you?
I was back here. And then I stepped up here.
There we go. All right, on three. 1, 2.
1, 2. Okay, good. I'm gonna get a picture for his family. Oh, yeah.
Ready? On three. 1, 2, 3.
Last one. 1, 2. Okay, we're good.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
No, really.
But first, public communications. Okay, so we'll move from public communications back up to item 6, which is our motion to go back into executive session. So I would just need a motion for that.
Mr. President, I move the Board of Education recess into executive session for 15 minutes for consultation with the board's attorney on matters protected by the attorney-client privilege to protect the privilege and the board's position in potential litigation and administrative procedures. The board will return to open session in the boardroom at 7:16 p.m. The superintendent, board attorney, and leadership staff are invited into executive session.
And a second. Dr. Bonebrake, any discussion? Okay, we'll move for a vote.
The vote is open. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
The year before. Because last year was Mr. St. Clair. Just trying to. Yeah.
Yeah, catch me. I was gonna try to catch you too.
I would have been happy if you did.
It is 7:16, and so we will return back and move on to our disposition of business by consent down in item 9. So I'll look for a motion. Yes, Mr. Tatum.
Mr. President, I move the board approve the items of business by consent as presented and authorize the board president or superintendent to sign the special project and purchasing contracts for and on behalf of the board.
And is there a second for that? Dr. Beeson. Is there any discussion or questions on the items that are up for consent? Okay, seeing none, we'll open to a vote.
All votes are in and the motion carries.
Thank you. And then I get to turn it back over to Dr. Anderson
Right.
for her report.
We are excited about strategic planning. As the PowerPoint comes up on the strategic plan, we have Dr. Gardner that's here with us. And he will come on to the podium to talk about a portion of that plan. As that PowerPoint comes up, we're just going to remind those that are viewing that if you're online and you're looking for the plan, you just either type it in the memo or click on the quick link and you'll see strategic plan. As we go on to this very next piece, it's really just the title page that you're looking at now. As you go on to the very next couple of clicks, board members, you do have a full copy of the strategic plan in front of you if you don't want to scroll through the computer. As we kick this off, remember the last time we've done our strategic plan, we always revisit the mission and vision. That's what it is currently. And we have on all of our cards to engage, prepare, and inspire students. So moving from that into these next areas, this is just a reminder of this process. Dr. Gray at the very end, I'll just kind of wrap things up with any questions you may have. But just to remind you, this process includes getting stakeholder feedback through site-based teams. If you want to know, what does that look like? How do they get feedback? What's a school-based team? Certainly Dr. Gardner is a school voice that can speak to that. He's here as one of the K-8 schools that's embedded in our strategic plan. The other pieces that will happen after getting some staff and parent feedback, which we collect all year, we'll be looking at academic performance, all of our data. We have a needs assessment. You all have a retreat where you're going to be talking about the needs assessment coming up. And then the school plans are reviewed. They're reviewed by the directors. They'll take them to the strategic planning committee. Later in this presentation, I'll be asking you, what committee do you want to be on based on the goals that we previously had? You might choose to tweak some of those overall arching goals, but for now, based on what we've previously had, where do you want to serve? And then the last two pieces, we get feedback throughout the course of the year based on these are our strategic planning goals. And then we end with the plan being approved by the board. So we're going to bring that plan back to you in 2026, likely somewhere around July, but before the school year starts for next year. So this one ends in 2026, the next one will start in 2026. And that will still be, again, a 3 to 5 year plan. This one you see is a 4-year, it was 5, and then we made some significant revisions right after COVID. So then this is now this 4-year plan that ends in 2026. With you knowing that process, as we turn to the next page, the overall pillars which you have in the plan are these 5 items, which each leadership team member will just share briefly. Here are a couple of accomplishments, but here are some things that have now changed that are right now on their mind. They're going to take that to the strategic planning committee. We'll look at all the other data and all the other feedback, but right now, each leadership team member has something on their mind that's not in the plan now that they want to mention so the public gets an idea of these are the kinds of things we want to bring to the table. So when you're planning the next 3 to 5 years, think about those items. Really quick, our pillars, and if you're looking at the screen or if you can't see the screen, college and career placement, student learning, highly effective staff, district finance, and school climate and equity. With that in mind, I'm going to call on each of these leadership team members from their seat. They'll speak to some areas when it gets to instruction, which I think is the very first one. We'll also cede this to Dr. Gardner to give you an update about K-8. We have 3 K-8 models. His is a school within a school with 1 principal. But let's go to the very first slide. Some just achievements and highlights. It mentions several of them, but we've also broken those down by page. So on the very next slide, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Sharp. And she'll share a little bit about student learning and college and career placement. And just big pieces that we accomplished, but something that's really on her mind and why Dr. Gardner's here.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Anderson. I'm excited to have Dr. Gardner back here tonight to share how the rollout of that PK8 campus at Ross and Eisenhower has gone this year at the district level. And I think even at all of the board members have received positive feedback from staff, community members, and Dr. Gardner is excited to share a little bit of that with you tonight.
So we'll take this off the screen for a moment so we can see Dr. Gardner's smiling face so parents can, as they hear him, talk about student learning, CTE pathways, all of that grew. But Dr. Gardner, you put in place the school within a school K-8 model. So we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson, Ms. Sharp, and Board of Education for allowing me to really just share some of the growth and excitement we have on our K-8 campus at Ross and Eisenhower. Our theme this year was Stronger Together, and we took a staff photo at the beginning of the year, and I think that's really just helped unite some of the growth and really improvement that we're working towards. The next day, we actually had a professional development through teaching and learning with Mr. Mark McLeod, who really gave us that energy and gave us a full day PD on classroom management. And the neat part was during lunchtime, he met with just myself, Ms. Hink, and Mr. Kirkwood, and gave us like an extra hour of just admin conversations with him. And that was pretty powerful during that lunch hour. And his big thing with our teachers, he told them 2 things, bell work and establish routines. And so that's what our teachers have really taken to heart. And that was through our professional development. We talk about our site council at Ross and Eisenhower. We're lucky we have a pretty robust community support. And one of the neat things we did to kick off the year was we actually had Ross and Eisenhower staff come to the Commons at Eisenhower, and we invited all of our community partners to be part of that. And so the neat part is very organic just to see the different people mixing around, getting to know each other. You saw 5th grade teachers talking to 6th grade teachers. So this K-8 model, I think, is honestly endless of possibilities and allows our teachers and our community partners to be quite innovative. When you talk about student supports, one thing that we're really excited about is our student incentives and how we can keep our students moving in this positive direction. And one of our big focuses was CI3T, the Tiered Instruction for Behavior. And last week we had over 100, I want to make sure I get this right, 154 students purchase something from the store. And that's big because that means the kids are buying in and they're wanting to do the right thing. And when we talk about our partnerships, one big thing we're focused on is, athletics and activities, getting kids involved in something outside of school, because we know when they're involved in something, their grades and attendance and everything continues to improve. And we were able to give 74 physicals at Eisenhower at either $10 or no cost because of our Advisors Excel partnership, and also our staff has helped contribute to that. And I know that you guys are partial to all the schools, but this week has been pretty special for us at Eisenhower because we won our volleyball game, we won our football game tonight. Chief Cochran actually refereed that. And actually, one of your counterparts came up to us and said that was just great sportsmanship. And for our kids in our school, that means almost more than winning. And then when you think about academics, we kind of took this from Mr. Dick. I believe he stepped out. He has an Avid signing night, and just for academics. And we had that this week where we had 18 families actually come in and they signed their Avid agreement, and then I signed it. And so we're just trying to do things to really bring this excellence back to Eisenhower, and to follow along with the strategic plan. So that's kind of things we're excited about as we continue to move forward.
Hey, before we go on to other areas of the strategic plan, those are some highlights of things that we want to see and the things that are occurring. That's going to just dovetail right on into chronic absenteeism. It's still an area of concern. It's going to be reflected in the next strategic plan. The other K-8 models, seeing how they continue to increase parental engagement. We'll be inviting DCAC to be part of the strategic planning committees because their topic is family engagement. So those are some just examples. Well, for those that are wondering, what's a strategic plan? What are we doing? What do we accomplish? You get a little insight on what we've accomplished, but also some things that are coming up. Are we okay with us moving on to the next few levels? Or do we have any questions for Dr. Gardner before we conclude? Because we're going to go on to the next few pillars. All right, Dr. Gardner, feel free to have a seat, and as they ask questions, feel free to come back up. We appreciate you, sir. As we continue on to the very next level, and you're doing a great job, Mr. Reiner. Thank you. I know. So as we go on to the very next slide, after student learning, and we know about CTE, and that actually started us off. The very next slide is really about school climate and equity. And Mrs. Sharp has already talked a little bit. That's where Dr. Gardner comes up, and about the pre-K through 8 concept. Ms. Sharp, do you want to mention anything about dual language or things that we've accomplished previously? And then areas in your other role where you look at social work and student services that you're hoping that we have as a continued focus.
Mm-hmm. Yes, just want to add on to what Dr. Gardner shared. When Dr. Anderson visited with me this summer about the PK8 model, I think my face lit up. I was part of the original planning for those K-8 campuses when I started as principal at State Street, and we worked with the board and different committees on the signature themes and putting those models into place. And so I'm really excited to have the opportunity to work with each of those campuses, and we'll work with those building principals at Chase and State Street and the 2 Jardine administrators to really build what do they want it to look like on their campus for those schools to work together and really try to bridge that gap between 5th grade and 6th grade and try to be as seamless as we can. I think sometimes that's a really rough transition, and when we're physically that close together, we should be able to make that look really good for students and families. So excited to take some of the things that they're doing at Ross and Eisenhower and replicate that at some of those other campuses. Of course, we're continuing to have a great enrollment at our dual language program with the addition of Dr. Mejia's role last year, then continuing into her new role this year as the general director. We added a dual language consulting teacher that is able to really support the secondary program, which has been where we've had some loss of enrollment. And this year our participation at Landon is up, and excited about what that looks like for the future. Again, with the social workers, counselors, mental health professionals that we have, Dr. Regina Franklin supporting our homeless families, making sure that we're working with all of our mental health professionals to wrap around families and ensure that we've got good plans in place. Talking about how can they also contribute to reducing that chronic absenteeism rate and getting wraparound services as far as mental health and support to families. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention parents as teachers as part of those services that can support our families.
So those are all systems and goals that you see in the plan now that you just mentioned. For example, the homelessness piece was impact avenues. You literally have in the strategic plan 4 to 5 years ago to reduce homelessness in Topeka. That was part of the strategic plan. We've done that by 50%. We had a 600 to 800 homeless population at the time. We now have 50% less because it's part of the plan. We added Dr. Franklin and we added a lot of these other services. All right, so if we move from there, and at the very end, we'll open this up for questions. So that pillar of instruction and highly qualified, we've kind of touched on that. And now finance, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Strand at the end to mention, hey, what's a big thing or two that we've accomplished, but also where is she seeing things joining the district new? Ms. Stranathan?
Thank you. I think, if you look at the finance, really the finance is the foundation, if you think about it, because it supports everything that we do in the district. And coming into a district, Mr. Minke has done a phenomenal job, and Mr. Busey, in reference to keeping the balanced budget. And some of the big things is just all the additional things that we've been able to do in the district, whether it's the technology side or the operational side, and especially being able to have a budget to where we can continue to support raises for teachers along with our benefits side of that. So one of the things I did notice, though, was when I was looking at the strategic budget, there's not a lot in there in reference to the operational side, to the facilities, to looking at more in depth with the technology and the safety and security. Even though all of those have been touched at one point, is now going in, and what we're looking at doing going into that 26 year is to start doing more of the facilities, of looking at what we can do for the facilities and the operational side to improve and start to build into a 3 and a 5 year strategic plan just within each of those areas. So it's exciting, especially to start adding that into the strategic plan now and start taking the financial a little bit further out than, just what it has been so far. So looking forward to doing that.
So in the plan, you only see the word finance. So that means next 3 to 5 years, you should probably see finance and operations as a goal so that you have more strategies in that area. And so with those as just examples, we do have an ask of the board. We're going to the very next sheet. If we spent the time going through this entire document, you'll see a lot of strategies, but this really helps you understand what is the plan, how are we going to get feedback, and then what are just some examples. You heard some of the challenges, facilities, the changes in assessments. Dr. Kipp, I believe, is here this evening to remind everyone the assessment is different. We don't have the scores, but we should get those in October. But that is going to be a challenge, and we need to capture that in our new strategic plan. Dr. Kipp, as well as chronic absenteeism.
Yes. Just to mention, to reiterate, these 2025 state assessments are not completely done, not completely scored. They've set the cut scores, but haven't released those. There's lots of rumors they're going to be released here this week or next week, but from all that I've heard, it's going to be October. So the one thing to keep in mind is with this new assessment, it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to compare to previous years. So this is going to be a reset. I'm really encouraged by the work that they've done at KSD to revisit some of these cut scores. And, as many of them had said at KSDE, that they'll better measure how our kids are truly mastering the standards, in my opinion. So that's one thing that we have to fold into the district strategic plan, is this new change in assessment and the metrics and how we measure growth and achievement. It's fundamentally going to change. The other thing, graduation requirements, I know we're going to see a change in those. Class of 2028 seems very far away, but that was last year's freshmen. No longer are you going to be able to graduate in the state of Kansas with just a diploma. You have to have at least 2 assets or achievements. And there's a long list of them, probably about, 20. But some of these include let me get my glasses. Seal of biliteracy is an asset. Industry certifications, which they're getting by the dozens over at TCALC. College hours, they recognize the ASVAB for military scores. They're finally starting to see a bridge there. JROTC, attendance rate, CTE scholars. I'll go on, and I can share this list with you. But we're going to have to adapt and be agile in order to collect all these. One of them is like Boy Scouts. You know, we just have to rely on the self-report of, or Girl Scouts, of these students who achieve that Eagle status. We've already started implementing things with Mr. Reinhardt and myself in the technology. Synergy actually allows us, and they've been really progressive in capturing some of these changes. So the freshman class last year already submitted their volunteer hours. So we already have some assets in place for these kids that will graduate in 2028. So we're just trying to build the infrastructure from a technology and data point of view to make sure when they're seniors, we're not trying to scramble and figure out what did you do 4 years ago. We're capturing all this data right now.
So right now, assets is not reflected in our strategic plan because it didn't exist. Okay, so whoever's on that committee talking about college and career readiness, you're going to be talking about graduation rate, and then how are we going to make sure those things happen? I will go back to the slides, and then we'll stay on the slides just to get through these last couple. We're going to turn it back over to the board, go back to those pillars and see where would you like to serve? And the professional development day is the very first day. As a reminder, chronic absenteeism follows the contours of poverty. So when you're talking about achievement, you'll be probably talking about equity along as well, and how are we closing the equity gap. Dr. Kipp made this slide back in 2022 when we were doing the strategic plan in terms of the large districts and where they fall, and where, how does poverty increase, and as poverty increases, chronic absenteeism increases. As we go on to the very next couple of slides really quickly, we do want to remind you that footprint, we really did change and transform the community. What we've done has changed the at-risk areas. So for example, Scott was red and at risk, and it no longer is now 4 or 5 years later. So what we do will help impact the community. The areas in terms of retirements and turnovers, you saw in the very first slide when Ms. Sharp was speaking, that teacher quality piece, we didn't spend a lot of time this evening on that, but that is one of your goal areas. Previously, this slide was pretty similar in the sense that we generally have between 400 and 500 people eligible to retire. Previously, we had about 80-something% that we kept, so about 20% of those people retired. Now we have 91% are remaining in TPS, so most people are not retiring, but we do still have 428 people eligible. People come and serve for a very long time in Topeka Public Schools. So as we continue to think about salaries, finance, how we're impacting teachers, that will make a difference. Previously, this slide was shared with you by Ms. Ramberg. And as we go to the next slide, all it shows you, because it's a little blurry, is that everyone's having a teacher shortage. And the prediction 4 years ago was that it would be worse. And it is worse, but it just means we have to continue to be creative. The diversity, equity, seal of biliteracy were all strategies in the plan last time. This is just a slide you've already seen before from Dr. Mejia that just reminds you that we are part of preparing global leadership. So we have more languages attained, more seals of biliteracy. She took it from 2022 to 2025. Well, in 2022, we had 2 kids that were getting the seal of biliteracy. 15 students. And only 2 gold, and now we have 59 students. And so again, that also now folds into the assets for this next plan. And as we go back to the pillars, to remind you of those pillars, my question for you, board members, will be what strategic planning committee you'd like to serve on. There are 5 pillars. Those 5 pillars that we're going to bring up, as we bring those up, if there's something that you feel compelled to serve on, that strategic planning committee, one of the leaders will reach out to you to say when you all want to meet. But the professional development day during the school day is when teachers are available, parents who have kids often know that we meet on that day. So those that come, prepare for that. But if you say, I really can't do that, I need to meet at 6 o'clock at night, you guys can talk about that for that small committee. With that, if I can just go around to the board and just ask, and we'll start with Dr. Schumacher. Do you feel compelled with these 5 areas? And again, your committee may say, I don't think we need, I don't know, climate inequity. I doubt you say that, but you might say that. Instead, I think we need something else. Or you might rename district finance to district operations. But based on this 5 groups for right now, where would you like to serve, Dr. Schumacher?
I would say, I think the college and career readiness would be my preference.
All right, we have you noted for college and career. Thank you, Ms. Schmidt.
I would like to serve on the finance and operations.
So you did get someone for operations. There we go. So you have an operations person with district finance. Mr. Munoz, where would you like to serve, sir?
School climate and equity.
Okay, climate and equity. Mr. Tatum?
I think I'm going to go with highly effective staff.
Okay, the HR highly effective staff area, Mrs. Boley. Okay, student learning for Ms. Boley. Dr. Beeson?
Climate and equity.
Climate and equity. And Dr. Bonebrake? And climate and equity. All right, with those, thank you so much. You will get an email regarding the proposed times or either a calendar invite asking you what time works best for you. That completes the overall overview we wanted to give and the feedback. Do you have questions for us about the process or anything else at this just initial juncture of kicking off the planning for strategic planning? We'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Schumacher. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. Next up, we have our action items. And so we first have 23.1, which is the resolution to approve and adopt exceeding the revenue neutral rate. And so I believe I need a motion and then we will do a roll call vote for that one. Yes, Mr. Tatum.
Mr. President, I move to approve Resolution 26-004 and adopt exceeding the revenue neutral rate by a roll call vote.
Is there a second for that? Dr. Beeson. And Mrs. Lister, you'll administer?
Vote is open.
Oh, so we just vote on here.
Dr. Schumacher, your vote.
Yay. Yes.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Yay.
Mr. Munoz?
Yay.
I did.
Mr. Tatum?
Yay.
Mrs. Boley?
That's easier.
Dr. Beeson?
Yay.
Dr. Bonebrake? Thank you. All votes are in and the motion carries.
Thank you. Is that our only roll call vote for these action items? Okay, perfect.
Mr. Normal.
So we'll move on to action item 23.2, which is adopt the supplemental general fund LOB percentage of 29.3%. Mr. Tatum.
Mr. President, I move to approve Resolution 26-005 to adopt supplemental general fund /LOB percentage of 29.3% for fiscal year 26.
Is there a second on that? Dr. Bonebrake, is there a discussion on that motion? Okay, we'll look for a vote.
The vote is open. Mr. Munoz, oh, there you go. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimous.
Thank you. And then finally, our 23.3, our approval and adoption of the fiscal year 2026 budget. Mr. Tatum.
Mr. President, I move to approve and adopt the fiscal year 2026 budget. Per legislative requirements, the building needs assessment and state assessment reviews were provided to the board and were considered during the budgeting process.
And a second on that motion. Dr. Beeson. Any discussion on that motion? Yes, Mr. Munoz.
You know, I wonder if I could have the finance team sort of come up and ask, or sort of share with us and the process and what staff may have sort of gone through in order to look at our budgets and saving monies. Obviously, you know, we're raising our levy, but I think we're hearing from community members and both for the education of us as members, you know, sort of what the administration does to sort of look at our budgets and save pennies here and there to make sure that obviously we're being as efficient as possible with the monies and taxes that we have.
Absolutely. And I want to first start by just acknowledging the taxpayers that came forward tonight. I really think that their concerns came from a genuine place. I know I was able to talk to Mr. Gilbert at length. I was actually accused by my teammates of maybe running him off by talking too much to him, but we are going to get together to finish reviewing all the budget documents. But I do believe that they came from a genuine place. And directly address your question, yeah, the district is always looking for ways to cut costs, right? Over the last 20 years, unfortunately, as student enrollment has declined, the district had made the difficult decision to close some schools, and staffing has decreased through attrition. Staffing, our payroll and fringe benefits costs is the biggest part of our budget. But outside of those, we're always trying to squeeze a nickel out of anywhere that we can. Mr. Wilson and the purchasing team do a great job of sourcing everything that we have, making sure that we're going out for bids and getting the most competitive pricing. But just a few examples. So back in 2017, 2018, the district joined it was Kermit at the time, but now it's the KICS Insurance Cooperative, Kansas Insurance Cooperative Students, and that has definitely paid dividends throughout the years. If you'll recall, last month our property and liability annual premium actually decreased, and I do not believe that we would be there, had we been with an independent agency. We are also self-funded for our workers' compensation insurance, self-funded for our dental insurance. We've talked at length about the high costs of health and pharmaceutical insurance, so we're exploring self-funding options for that. Anywhere, like I said, anywhere that we can save a little bit of money, we certainly, I feel like we have. We've refinanced the bonds twice to save several $1 million. The mill rate that was originally set for the bonds was above 6 mils, and you see where we're at now, so that's well below that. And it's a balancing act, right? Mr. Gilbert and I talked about that at length. I said it's tough. You want to pay people what they're worth, but you have to work with the dollars that you have, and you have to be fair to the taxpayers. So that balancing act is something that we take very seriously.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of thank everybody on the process of creating the budget and in assessing where we need to be in terms of the mill levy, which we just voted for. I think we take this seriously and we place something that's appropriate, our level mill levy at a level that we think is appropriate to everybody involved. And so I appreciate your work on getting this, and everybody's work on getting this budget together.
Ms. Schmidt.
Yeah, I want to echo a lot of what Lalo said. I appreciate the time that you guys have put into this as somebody that is working for government. And we've had to work through our own budget, and it's painful. It is hard because you do have the people that it affects the most are the people that are living on those fixed incomes, and they bought a house and paid off a house thinking that they were going to stay there, and they're getting taxed out of their homes. And it's a sad state. At the same time, just like Lalo said, even if we didn't change anything from last year to next year, this year to next year, the cost of everything has gone up. And so, you look at, you either have to cut services, you have to cut people, you got to find ways to pinch pennies. So I appreciate the work that you guys have put in to make sure that we're being fiscally responsible with the taxpayer money that we receive. I've watched many of the R&R hearings that have been going on across the county just to kind of get a temperature of what people are feeling. And the sentiment is a lot of what we heard tonight. I recognize we're only one piece of the pie. But I hope that as a school district and being a community member and, creating buildings and facilities and events that the community can partake in. Just like one of the speakers spoke about, being able to use our facilities. If those are things that we can make possible, if we can open our facilities up, not just to students and families, but community as a whole, maybe it will be a little less painful. I don't know, to see that big piece of the pie coming here. But I think you guys do a great job. I just want to recognize that it's not an easy decision for us to say we're going to exceed revenue neutral. Because I know everybody on this board owns a house, and so we all pay more. But it's been interesting this year because I have family members that are on fixed incomes. And so, when all of our entities decide that we're going to exceed that revenue neutral and those taxes go up on their houses, I see the fret that they have about this was supposed to be where I stay. And is it going to be able to be where I stay because all these taxing authorities are making these decisions? So I appreciate the people that come out and speak. It's not easy to stand up and speak in front of the public, but it is very important that they do that and that the taxing authorities, us and all other taxing authorities, hear that feedback so that we can take that into account and make changes where we're able. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion?
Yeah.
Dr. Bombrake.
And one of the problems is the taxing authorities may allocate, but they don't distribute.
That's correct. And Mr. Gilbert and I explained that to him. Yeah, just because we levy a tax does not mean that we'll collect it. The tax abatement, the TIF districts, the IRBs, they don't have a separate line item on that revenue neutral notice. That's funded through mill levies such as our own.
Hey, there is a motion on the table with a second. So if there's no further discussion, we'll move to a vote on the motion.
And it's open. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimous.
Thank you, Ms. Lister. So that's it for our action items. So we get to move to board member comments, and we'll go back to Dr. Bombrake. Hopefully we can hear about the Menninger Tower.
Oh, what a encourage you.
It's on my bingo card, so he has to say it.
Well, we're helping support a private citizen in their investment endeavor. So whatever. Dr. Gray and I visited Randolph Elementary. I kind of felt that when we board members did the first day of school, well, for example, I was just walked into a room and a minute later we were escorted out. We weren't introduced or anything. And Ms. Garcia did a wonderful job introducing me, and then I harassed the students for a couple of minutes. And I was surprised to see the 5th grade classes had 27 students in them. That's a bit much, but the teachers were smiling and happy and energetic. Of course, it was only 2 weeks or so into the school year, but we'll see what another month does. I was going through all the board emails, and it looks like nationally there's a 25% chronic absenteeism rate, which is what ours is, right? That's 25%. And they thought that the greatest thing that had an effect on that was teachers and counselors visiting the family, going to the home and discussing with the family and the student the importance of the education and getting to school. And that has made a big difference. I think Maryland cut it from 25 to 15% chronic absenteeism. So it's impressive. And I also understand that the cut scores have been made, but they weren't specific. But the ACT scores evidently and the college graduation and career preparation did not reflect their cut scores. So the tendency is they're going to increase the number of people that are ready for college and career, just artificially changing a number. That makes perfect sense. But I've always wondered where people got the number for what the proper level was. They say that the National Department of Education does not set scores, and the Kansas KNEA doesn't tell us where they get their scores. They just make them up. That doesn't make much sense. It ought to be accurate. So now they're changing the scores to be more accurate with their college and career readiness. So I guess that makes perfect sense. You just adjust your numbers to make you happy.
That sounds great. Dr. Beeson.
To follow that, let's see. So this coming Monday, Health Insurance Committee will meet and we will have our first Equity Council meeting next Thursday, a week from today. So I don't have any committee work to report on. I believe there's been some action at the State House that I didn't get to watch, so I'm hoping Mrs. Boley will fill us in on some of that. I got to spend quite a bit of time in the past couple of weeks at a couple of different schools. I got to accompany my daughter's 5th grade from Whitson to Starbase at Forbes Field. She doesn't like it when I call it Space Force. But it was really fun. I had no idea what we were getting into, but really cool Department of Defense program out there that the whole 5th grade attended. I don't know if that's just, does the whole district do that? Do you know? Okay. Anyway, it was all STEM learning. The kids were completely engaged the whole time. And I guess in 5th grade, you're not too embarrassed by your parents yet. So we had a great time. I visited Chase Middle School last week and got to visit with Dr. Taylor. It's her first year there. Chase was just wonderful, and seeing the 6th graders who were on their, 3rd week of school, everybody was doing a fantastic job. Really, really enjoyed the school environment, and Dr. Taylor is loving it. She was having a great time. And then I got to visit Highland Park Central this afternoon, and just so impressed, actually. It was wonderful to spend some time there. My middle school guitar teacher is a long-term sub there, Mr. Fuller. So if anybody knows him, he's amazing. And met just a lot of faculty there that were very impressive. Students completely engaged, and Mrs. Abernathy, I think, has done a fabulous job really emphasizing school climate and improving that building and the value everyone feels in being there. So I just wanted to give a shout out to her. She was very impressive, and it was a beautiful place to spend some time this afternoon. Only other thing is a reminder that our Family Fitness Fun Night at Hummer is September 17th. So I will look forward to going to that with my girls.
Ms. Boley.
So there were 150 teachers from across the state of Kansas that helped with the cut scores and aligning the questions with the state standards. So they didn't pull them out of the air. They have aligned it, spent a lot of hours figuring out the new cut scores with KU University to figure out those cut scores for the new testing. So they weren't just pulled out of the air. No. And we had 150 educators from across the state that helped with that, just gave up so much of their time to make that alignment and find those cut scores. So The reason why I say that out loud is because we have some people in our state house that believe that same thing, that we change the cut scores to get off of the burner of the 4 levels. And it's just not a true fact. After so many years, assessments need to be improved and upgraded. And we're in that process. It's been talked about since 2019. And it just occurred this year because it takes so much planning to do. And so I just wanted to state publicly here that they're not just grabbed out of the thin air. We didn't create a new assessment to change the narrative at the state building. And they are going to make a correlation chart, which is not going to be a total apples to apples, but to help us try to understand how the new test will align with showing progress for our students. So the State Department has been putting that together to try to help us with an apple decor, I guess, alignment to help us try to understand that. That's some of the things that I got out of the state building the last 2 days. Another thing that I did hear that the state chair, Erickson, stated today that the new formula will not have preschool in it. That is, she has been told to create some type of financing for K through 12. It doesn't say preschool through 12. So I don't know if she'll be able to hold her ground there, but that could be a concern for us in the future. Of course, this task force is, will give their report in 2027. So, this is a long-term discussion. But I will say we had lots of educational experts sitting on the task force. And it was today, special education was asked to present. So they brought some very knowledgeable special education people to testify today. And they did a really fine job. Of course, Kansas is very diverse, so it's hard to cover everybody. Both of these were in, coalitions that share money in small districts for special ed. So they'll have like one district had 7 schools and another one had 8 in it. So it doesn't represent like somebody like Topeka, but the spending is, co-op, thank you. The spending is, still relevant across the board, whether you're doing it with a co-op or you're doing it as individual standalones. So as I parked my car in the parking lot this morning, I read a bumper sticker that just seemed like after spending 2 days there, it just made so much sense. It says, I was an honor student and I don't know what happened. So I thought, wow, it's right here in the Capitol building. That's amazing. And because sometimes I think that. Let's see. The tech committee met and of course, we were having a couple things with Google, but our IT team got right on it and helped fix it for our teachers. That's very disconcerting when your system goes down in your classroom because we're so technology driven now, but our IT has done a great job. And in that same line, they're talking about, the ticketing. We send in tickets for repairs in IT and also our facilities. And so they're going to be pairing up and sharing information with each other so they can be more cooperative in getting things fixed and sooner. Pine Ridge has been brought into our system now, which is going to be really nice for Pine Ridge. They're connecting the networks. And our post audit with the legislators. We did well with our post audit. We're getting things in line and we're doing what we need to do. And so that was a great thing to have. I'll leave anything else for Mr. Schumacher if he has anything else he likes to add. KSB has gone out on their listening tour. We created our documents for lobbying in the State House, and they go out all across Kansas and have listening tours in each region. Our region is Region 2. Mr. Edwards and myself went down to Paola. They still remember you down there, Miss Whiteman, to listen to suggestions there of anything that they'd like to change or if we're on the right track. And they do that all across the state of Kansas. And they'll be getting that information out. I believe Mr. Edwards shared some documents with the district that they're able to use and the superintendents would be able to use. I've been asked by the Ross PTO about their music playground and if anything is being done about that in the grant area, and PTO has been working on putting money together and they would like to know kind of where they stand.
Mr. Schaefer and I met with Dr. Gardner on the Ross Playground, looked at the area where they are planning to put the music garden. We had some questions just facility-wise as they were going to get the concrete donated, and we needed to have some more information on exactly what that's going to include as far as there probably needs to be some excavation work and all of that. I had some questions around exactly what standards the instruments would cover, and what materials they were going to be made out of so that we know that they're going to stand the test of time, because they have put together a good amount of money to put towards this. So we want to make sure that it lasts. I know that Dr. Gardner was going to follow up on the list of items that we had asked that day. I know that Mr. Schaefer was going to follow up on his end with some of our contractors on the excavating and the cement work. So
yeah, thank you so much for getting with them and filling them in. They, like you said, they've collected quite a bit of money for that. And so they were wondering, where is it? What's happening with it? So I appreciate you going out and speaking with them and giving them an idea of what's next.
yeah, I was able to also touch base with their PTO president, I believe, at the backpack event that day. She was there.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for doing that, because I'm not ever sure what to tell them. So I'm glad you told them what needs to be said. I also wanted to thank the union and Mrs. Sharp and negotiating team for continuing to be partners in student learning and doing everything possible to make it, allowing us to give what we're able to give and for you to be able to give to our students. And we just appreciate you all so much. And thank you for the hard work around our negotiations and our contracts. And I was very pleased to be able to sign it tonight. So thank you all.
Mr. Tatum.
Well, I think I just have a few things that are fairly quick. I think I'll start with my committees. Since we last met, the policy committee met, and in the policy committee, we really kind of focused on issues relating to school safety, things like the reporting on physical assault and stuff like that. Things that also kind of bled over into cooperation with law enforcement and even things like traffic regulations, enforcement on school property. So we really kind of talk through some of those issues. And as you can recall, we're kind of going through systematically and looking at all the policies of the district. So those are the ones that we really kind of worked through quite a bit in our recent meeting. The other, if I forgot anything, I'm sure Mr. Munoz will fill in the gaps. The other committee meeting that I had was Finance Committee, and we pulled together an impromptu, that's the word I'm looking for, an impromptu meeting because we wanted to prepare for the R&R discussion tonight. So a lot of the work that you all saw kind of put front and center and disseminated tonight regarding the budget and the R&R process, and even the district employee raises that we approved tonight. A lot of those things were items that had been kind of discussed and hashed out a bit more in further detail. So I was pleased to see that the work that we pulled together for our impromptu meeting last week really was very productive for our discussion tonight. So the last thing I want to be sure to mention is a little story about a conversation that I had today. I was visiting a nonprofit leader in Lawrence. This is an individual who works for a social services, youth services oriented nonprofit in the Lawrence area. And she happened to talk about some of her frustrations with the Lawrence public school district. And there was apparently an article recently about some issues that the district is having surrounding bathrooms and how they're kind of managing that process. And this individual kind of felt like that was really a heavy-handed response, locking the bathrooms. And it's a whole thing. For those that haven't read it, you can certainly find it online. But as a part of the conversation, I happened to mention that I'm actually a Board of Education member for USD 501 in Topeka, and you could have flipped a switch. And she was like, "Oh, wow, you guys don't have the problems that we have here in Lawrence. You guys are doing something right." And I can tell she was being very genuine, and I appreciated the compliment, but she couldn't get enough of really singing our praises in Topeka Public Schools. And she even mentioned, I've heard Dr. Anderson speak, and she's so amazing, especially when she's serving as a crossing guard. She's walking kids across the street and stuff like that. So I wanted to be able to share that story with all of you tonight, just to let you know our reputation precedes us. There are people in other parts of the state that see the work that's done here in the district and is taking note of that work. That makes me feel very proud to be a part of the TPS family. So that's all I have.
Mr. Munoz.
I think the policy committee was pretty well covered. I don't think there's anything else that we talked about at length there. Next week is our equity council meeting, so I look forward to that. I believe I can make that. The only other thing that I'll say is that September is pretty crazy for those of us who have students. We have a lot going on, and so I'm just thankful every day that I can make it to where I'm supposed to be, picking up the kid I'm supposed to. But as far as in the next couple of weeks and months, I'm going to begin to reach out to some of our schools to be able to visit and really push beyond what I've already seen and try to engage with groups and departments and students who maybe I haven't engaged with. And so I think there are a lot of programs that can be easily overlooked but are just as important. So I'm going to challenge principals to think about those programs, those efforts that are going on that maybe don't get visited as often. And so I'm going to challenge myself to try to think outside the box on to get to know all facets of our school district to make sure that I'm well-rounded in my knowledge of all the amazing things going on here. So that's all for me.
Ms. Schmidt.
So Dr. Beason, when you were at Highland Park Central, did you see the Under the Sea theme that they had, the rooms decorated?
And the kids had like the diving masks on, and it was adorable. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Miss Abernathy does an amazing job. The teachers out there are so creative. I really feel like it is this little hidden jewel within the district. And then Miss Boley, you spoke about negotiations. I didn't get to attend in person, but I did watch them. And I do want to commend our district leadership and the union. I thought that the collaboration was good. It just felt productive. It felt like everybody was there, to accomplish the most that we could for the sides that we were representing. I feel like everybody walked away feeling like they were a winner, but, just attending the few years I've been a school board member, this year just felt very different. So kudos to everybody that sat at those tables. You went in with a collaborative mindset, and I think that showed. I just want to touch on a couple of emails I think everybody received, but I like to call it out. We received some acknowledgement and praise on our school within a school model. I know there was a little bit of apprehension because that was something different. And we got some feedback from some of the teachers that it is going amazingly. And they're very impressed with Dr. Gardner, his team, kind of how the school Eisenhower is transforming. So that's wonderful. We also received an email from a teacher that came and spoke to us about the cell phone policy. And in his email, he stated, the district's new phone policy has led to an improvement in my classroom climate. Students are certainly more engaged in class discussions and generally doing better on their schoolwork. He's been surprised about how supportive parents have been of the policy. I think even Mr. Dick spoke a little bit about how engaged students were. So I just want to call this out because I know that as we discussed it, it was hard. And I said, we can do hard things. We can make hard changes if we know that it's right, if we do it based on data, if we're doing it with the betterment of engaging, preparing, and inspiring in mind. So I love to hear that feedback. And I think as a board, it's important that we get that feedback from our administrators, from our teachers, from our principals, from our families, from our taxpayers, that sit in the district. So I hope that people always feel like we're approachable as a board, whether it be email, whether it's coming and speaking on a topic that they're passionate about or that's on our agenda and they have 2 cents. Feedback is important, and I think that's how we're going to become a better district. So thanks.
Thank you. I just have a few things, just a reminder, which we touched on. The board retreat is coming up on the 13th. It was great to have Mr. Wrigley come. There was a couple other honors. Miss Valeria Cortez, one of the Scott preschool teachers. She was one of the Kansas Next Gen under 30s. So that was great. And then Miss Nichols, who was here tonight, she's one of the top 20 under 40 honored recently here in Topeka. Technology committee, 2 things I'd add is just that we're working on the technology policy and going through that. And then the know before the cybersecurity training. So I know I got an email. I assume we all got the email. So that'll be due by January. I logged on to make sure I could, but I didn't start it yet. So. And then finally, I was the DCAC board member representative this week for their first meeting. It was held at Bishop. And as Dr. Anderson had alluded to, they're looking at family engagement, and looking at it from a couple different ways. And I think there's some excitement and momentum, but there's also, I think they're looking at community engagement. So, and I assume it might be a standing agenda item, but they have a community resource presentation. So Silverbacks, which I've talked about before, but so Silverbacks as an organization, they have 4 different things that they do. 2 are meal-based, 2 are kind of supply-based, silver Sundays, silver suppers, silver bags, and I can't remember the other one, but so Silverbacks provided the meal for DCAC. And then my wife, who is now the vice president of DCAC, as of that meeting, she gave a presentation on Silverbacks. So I think and I hope one of their goals is to have community partners come in to the DCAC and present on what they're doing, but also then how can Topeka 501 help them. They will continue. The next meeting will be at TCALC. That's also the candidate forum. So if you're up for reelection, expect to get an email about that because that's kind of DCAC does a candidate forum. So that'll be at TCALC. And then after that, I believe they're going to be at Chase, but they will have a meeting at the library. So they're trying to do some different things to get out into the community more because it is that two-way street, like we've talked about. Family engagement, we want it coming this way, but also we need to push out that way and try to engage our families out there a little bit more. So it was a great meeting. And Ms. Ramirez Jennings, she's the DCAC president, and she's a force of nature. And we're very lucky to have her subbing in our schools this year. Half of the school reports were thanking her for subbing in their buildings. And that's like not a joke. I'm very excited about DCAC, and I think I tried to make sure they knew how impactful their impact study was last year, and I hope that they continue to have that impact this year. And that's all Topeka High is up 27-0 at halftime for the football game. So a good night so far. So with that, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, I move the meeting adjourned.
And a second from Dr. Beeson. And we raise our either hand and we say yay. And anybody opposed? No. Okay, thank you.
See you in the morning.